Welcome to the opening draw of the 2019 U-18 Canadian National Championships held here in Sherwood Park, Alberta. My name is Selena Sturmey and I'm going to be one of the commentators alongside my brother.
And my name is Karsten Sturmey. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are competing this week on the traditional lands of the Treaty 6 nations, including the Blackfoot, Cree, Dene, Gros Ventre, Métis, Nakota Sioux, and Saulteaux. Indigenous people were joined by settlers and pioneers who together built this great community of Strathcona County.
This afternoon on Sheet A, we have Northern Ontario versus Northwest Territories boys. On Sheet B, we have New Brunswick versus Northwest Territories girls. On Sheet C, and our host and feature game is Nova Scotia versus Prince Edward Island boys. Sheet D is Ontario versus Nova Scotia girls. Sheet E is home province, Alberta versus Newfoundland and Labrador girls. And then on the other side in the club, we have on Sheet F, Ontario versus British Columbia boys. On Sheet G, we have Prince Edward Island versus Saskatchewan. And Sheet H is Alberta versus Newfoundland. And Sheet I is Manitoba versus British Columbia.
So as stated before, this is the opening draw of the U-18 National Championships hosted here in Sherwood Park. It's an absolutely beautiful venue. We have an arena with 5 sheets in the Glen Allen Recreation Center. Just across, maybe 10, 15 feet away is the curling club. So we'll be running about 3 draws a day, 5 sheets on the arena, and is it 4 sheets on the club, Selena? Perfect.
So getting things underway this afternoon, I believe Nova Scotia did win draw to the pin, so they will be starting off with hammer in the first end.
Yes, they actually had quite a good draw to the pin for hammer. I believe one was biting the side of the button and the other one was full top 4.
So as you can see here, this was a Nova Scotia's first draw to the pin, just biting the side of the pin right there. And then their second one should be coming down right away, and it was full top 4.
So getting things underway, we have Colin McKenzie from the Prince Edward Island team throwing the first stone.
Colin McKenzie is in grade 12, and his home curling club is the Cornwall Curling Club in Prince Edward Island.
So tell me a little bit, Selena, obviously you've been to a number of these things. What are some things that you generally look for on the first day of competition or want to walk away after the first day of competition saying that you've maybe got a better handle of?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing coming into a national event with arena ice that a lot of us young people don't get a curl on very often is just to get a handle on the rocks and what the rocks are doing. A lot of the time that's what the biggest struggle is for teams. So I think if you can get a hold of that early and build some confidence in what the rocks are doing and what the ice is doing, that will really help you throughout the week.
Prince Edward Island was unfortunately a little heavy on their first one, so now we have Scott Weigel throwing lead rocks for the Nova Scotia team. He is throwing a corner guard.
Yeah, so Scott Weigel was also on the team last year. They were the 2018 U-18 national champion last year. So I believe the lead and the third who skips rocks, Owen Purcell, he was also on the team last year.
And he has beautifully executed the corner guard, and we see McKenzie once again trying to throw a center guard in response to that.
Yeah, so a lot of the times with 5-rock rule, you'll see this tactic being played. If by chance your lead's first rock doesn't end up in a good place and your opposition gets to throw the corner, you will see that center guard go up more often than not.
Kind of your best defense is a strong offense tactic?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Unfortunately, it looks like he has slipped a little bit heavy with this one as well and should leave the hit opportunity available to Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it's crazy how much this ice is curling. Seems to be curling a lot.
Yeah, very much so. At the beginning of these events, they tend to sharpen the rocks. You'll put a rock, it's almost a sandpaper-like substance, and then you'll turn it about a quarter turn, and that roughens up the running surface of it a little bit and creates that extra curl that you see.
So I know we talked about the 5-rock rule, Karsten. Can you explain that a little bit more, what it means and how it changed?
Yes, of course. So for many years, I'm not sure exactly when the 4-rock rule came into effect, but for about the last 20 years of the game at least, we've been playing under 4-rock rule. This season, we have recently switched over to the 5-rock rule. So now the first 5 stones of the end, if they end up in the free guard zone, which is that distance between the top of the house and the hog line, they are unavailable to hit. So this, with the 5-rock rule, it actually gives an equal number of guards that cannot be peeled to both the team that has the hammer and the team that doesn't have the hammer.
So this is Alex McDonough, second.
Nova Scotia, unfortunately, hit and rolled out on their last one, so you see PEI attempting to position that center guard once again. And it looks like they're successful this time, so now decision time. Selena, can you explain to me why you would choose to go around the corner instead of the center at this point in the end?
Yeah, so it's still early. With the hammer, you want to keep play away from the middle, essentially. So it just creates less risk for steal and to get things complicated. So if you have that corner guard up and you're able to use it, it's definitely a smart option. That's what they're doing here.
Makes sense. I suppose he also did throw that same path with the corner, so he should have a better idea of the speed.
Yep, he should have a really good idea of well, all players on the team should have a good idea of what the speed is and how the rock's going to react and curl there.
And it looks like his weight was wonderful, but it just poked out the other side. It's quite amazing how much this is curling, hey?
Yeah, I think you're going to see that a lot in the first little bit of this event is a lot of over curls. Like I said before, a lot of young players don't get the opportunity to play on arena ice, and luckily for this under-18 championship, it came into effect, I think, 3 years ago. The first one was held in 2017, and now that gives an opportunity for younger players to get that exposure and play more teams across Canada and get that exposure onto arena ice.
That was a really good shot now just by Liam Kelly, the wide takeout around the corner guard. What was really impressive about that shot is oftentimes you see in the first end a lot of overcurls on hits, especially. During that first end, you don't quite have all of the frost cleared off. It tends to be a little bit heavier. So especially to make a hit out wide like that, where the overcurl doesn't play at all, is really quite impressive.
So a little fun fact about Alex McDonough. He was the 2018 recipient of the Arvard Man Memorial Award for a curler who shows great promise and qualities of sportsmanship. In curling, sportsmanship is such an important quality, and it's definitely something you strive for with being a player, especially at this young age.
Yeah, you really never know who you're going to end up curling with later on, hey?
Yeah.
Good to make friends. And PEI attempted to peel that corner guard after they got a rollout from Nova Scotia. They were unfortunately a little bit wide on it. Do you want to maybe explain to our viewers a little bit about the shape of the curl with arena rocks on hits versus draws?
Yeah, so on arena ice, you will see draws curl quite a bit, more than your average curling club. But on hits, what you will often see is that hits often run a little bit straighter. So those peels aren't going to curl as much as the players think they are. Those hits and up weights are going to run fairly straight.
Yeah, in my experience, I feel like I generally see the hack bump waiters being the point where you see it shift from that bigger than average curl that you would experience in a club environment, and those medium waiters, like anything that has a 9 or anything heavier than that in front of it, really run straighter than you would expect, right?
Yep. So really good shot here by the Nova Scotia boys. They got a chance to capitalize and put a good rock behind that corner guard.
However, that is still quite a long corner guard, and we have seen that there's a lot of curl out there. So I do believe that if you skinny by that top one, you can still take that red rock out of play. It's pretty close. Just ticked it. Opportunity time. So what would be the ideal depth for this one, Selena?
If they're going in, probably around top 8, you don't want to close off the forefoot too much and still give yourself some opportunity to score your extra point if that's an option at the end of the end. But you also need to be careful not to set up a double as well.
Yeah, so you're definitely looking for this to be in the top part of the house. If you slip deep, there may be a double opportunity. There may also be a freeze opportunity for PEI to take the end away from Nova Scotia that's building here. Unfortunately, a bit heavy.
Yeah, Adam McEachern was also a provincial mixed doubles winner this year in 2019, so he would have been playing at the mixed doubles championships.
That's quite impressive at this age, hey?
Yeah.
So he will be used to arena ice.
Yeah, I think a lot of this Nova Scotia boys team has a fair amount of experience on arena ice.
So throwing right now, we have Mitchell Shute. He is from the Cornwall Curling Club and has been curling for 12 years. That's pretty impressive. He is only 16 and he's been curling for 12 years. So that means he was 4 when he started.
Yeah, started at a young age. Oh, and he just misses that.
So it's interesting how we see a bit of an end building. You get a couple half shots and then all of a sudden threes on the table. Especially in the first end, you know that you're generally going to get a couple misses from both teams just because of the unfamiliarity with the ice conditions. So especially on those nose hits, I've always found that in the first end, if you can just make sure that you're hitting and sticking around as compared to rolling out, it's a huge advantage. Owen Purcell is throwing skip rocks for the Nova Scotia team. He's quite a talented young player, as we've said before. He is the reigning U-18 national champion. I had the opportunity to play against him myself this year at the U Sports Nationals, and definitely has a bright future ahead of him, that guy. He's attempting to come around, and they're working this really hard. Are they going to break into the top half of the house? Sweep, sweep, sweep. Just a biter.
Yeah, they did get it.
That was some really good brushing. However, if Mitchell can sink one in there, Nova Scotia is going to have a bit of a problem, hey?
Yeah, a good rock here can save the end and even set up a potential steal.
Because he doesn't, Owen doesn't have an easy run back available to him, right?
No, not really. It's a fairly long run back.
Mitchell also has a fair bit of tolerance on this shot. He can be deep and freeze out the back one, and it's basically the same result, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit wide. It's going to depend what his weight is like, I think. Sliding, is it going to stop in time? So it looks like he did stop for shot rock, but do you think there's a shot there for a couple, Selena?
I do. That guard is so high and this ice curls so much that you can easily get to it with a quieter weight here, like hacker board. Definitely a very makeable shot.
Why would you choose that weight as compared to something that they've been throwing the rest of the end?
I think by just throwing that little bit more of a down weight gives the rock a little bit more of an opportunity to curl and maximizes your scoring potential and your opportunity to score more than one.
You probably keep the sweepers in play a little bit more too, right?
Yeah. So the sweepers say it's close out of his hand.
I expect Owen to be close at this. He likes these shots. It should finish. Looks like he has a really good shot coming down. Beautifully executed. And that is a 3 for Nova Scotia to start this game. So at this event and all other Curling Canada events, we're using thinking time. Do you want to maybe explain to our viewers what the concept of thinking time is, Selena?
Yeah, so basically they switched over to thinking time a couple years ago, and the whole premises of it is that your clock only runs during the time that you're actually thinking. So it runs from the time that you gain control of the house to the time that your person delivering crosses the back line or the T line.
Backline, I believe.
Yeah, the back line. So it kind of allows teams to play more draws than hits and not be penalized for it time-wise.
So after that 3, you see Nova Scotia call their first rock to go into the top of the house. Why would you do that as compared to maybe a center guard?
You're up, and it's still early in the game, and you kind of want to be a little bit more defensive. So good rock top 4 here can create a lot of problem for PEI later on in the end.
So Nova Scotia slips a little deep, unfortunately. Let's see what Mitchell calls. The corner guard.
So where is it ideal to have a corner guard on this ice? How close to the house should it be?
See, I would definitely want it closer to the house than further away just because of the massive amount of curl on this ice, right? As we saw last end, there was a corner guard that was even just a hair higher than halfway, and coming around that and making hits around it was still quite easy with the amount of curl in this ice. So I think we're definitely looking for an optimal depth for that corner guard to be tight. Is there any other reasons you can think of that you would want a corner guard tight on ice that curls this much?
I think it just makes it harder for your opponent to get at them.
That's very true. And also, if you think about it, when the corner guard is tight, it doesn't block off the draw path as much, right?
Yeah.
So Nova Scotia has called another rock into the top of the house, I believe. I expect him to be quite close on this one, considering he gets to throw the same path twice.
What do you mean by that, throw the same path twice, Karsten?
So you don't see it terribly often in curling, but it does happen every once in a while. So when you say you get to throw the same path twice, it's basically you get to throw the same line, that same track twice. And especially if you get to throw it one after another, you should have a really good idea of the speed in that spot. Seems to have slipped a little light, unfortunately. And Mitchell has called the come around. So earlier in the other end, we were saying it was generally better to come around the corner first. Why do you think Mitchell's coming around the center guard on this one?
Yeah, being down 3, he knows that eventually the play will get to center line. There's a rock behind T-line, so sometimes rocks behind T-line are your friend. So a good rock here can set up definitely a 2 score, if not a 3, if they see a half miss out of Nova Scotia with that rock being behind T-line.
Seems to have slipped a bit heavy.
It's amazing that Canada can put on so many events like this, national events and competitions.
Yes, absolutely. As we've said before, it's an absolutely beautiful complex here at the Glen Allen Recreation Center, and Heather and her team of volunteers have just done a fantastic job turning this into a world-class curling facility.
Yeah, we also wouldn't be able to do it without our sponsors, so I just wanted to say a big thank you to Alberta Sport Connection as well as Strathcona County. Those are one of the very few sponsors, or many sponsors I should say. We also have sponsors like Boston Pizza and Jugo Juice that you do see their logos in the ice, so if you do get a chance, like them on Facebook or go to one of their locations near you.
And Nova Scotia executes the come around perfectly. Selena, do you maybe want to explain to your viewers, some may have thought that come around would be more natural the other way, you're drawing to the fatter part of the rings. Why did Nova Scotia choose to come around the wide side?
I think they chose to come around the wide side just because they've played that path before and they know what it's doing. It's a huge advantage to know the pass in the ice, and if you know one better than the other, you definitely play it more times than not.
Increase the player's likelihood of making the shot, right? So I didn't quite see the call. Is he trying to freeze the back one?
I'm actually not too sure. I think he did call to come around.
Freezing the top
freezing
one.
the top one. So the sweepers are working on this one for weights.
Mm-hmm. That was crazy. So that just goes to show you the amount of curl in this ice. They actually ticked that top red rock, but it still continued to curl after they ticked the rock and finished to a perfect position pretty much, eh? So Nova Scotia has elected to guard here, it looks like. Do you want to explain to our viewers maybe why?
Yeah, so with the shot played right now, PEI has kind of grouped the rocks together and increased their chances of scoring and moving some stuff around in the 4-foot. So Nova Scotia is in control of that 4-foot area right now, and they're electing to play a guard just to make PEI's life a little bit harder.
I think they actually changed their call at the last second. They're trying to freeze the yellow now. Which one would you play?
I think it depends if you know this path or not.
Mm-hmm.
What it's going to do. If you make it, it's great. If you don't,
Kind
you
of
might
opens
leave
up
a little
the
bit of an
door a bit.
opportunity for PEI, yeah. Yeah, so just like that, now they have a pretty easy double.
Because say if they had thrown the guard, then it would have been PEI that was playing that unfamiliar path, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it looks like there is a double opportunity available to PEI.
Yeah, and that will leave 3 yellows in the house with 1 lonely red.
Mm-hmm. And with the amount of action on these rocks, do you think you can even get the outside roll if you make the double, Selena?
Yeah, absolutely. You'll definitely have to throw a little bit more weight at it, like a 9 or 9.5 second takeout, but it definitely is possible to get the double and roll.
Ooh, he looks really close here.
Yeah, it's curling. He is really close.
Ah, that's a wonderful shot, hey?
Yeah, it's really good.
Danger. Danger Bay.
So this PEI boys team was actually at Canada Winter Games, hosted in Red Deer, Alberta, not too long ago. So they definitely also have some experience at the national level.
And the Nova Scotia third is throwing it pretty hard here. It looks like he's going to make noise somewhere in the rings. That's a pretty good shot. What do you like here, Selena?
If you can get to the back red one and freeze it, that's really good. If not, you kind of need to get another rock in there somehow and minimize those red ones.
Is the hit on the top ever an option?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You just got to make sure you stick your shooter.
I don't think you necessarily need to play the double though, right?
No, there's still a lot of end left and a lot of rocks to come.
Mm-hmm.
With this shot, you just need to be careful not to leave an easy double back.
Yes.
Rolling away is good, but rolling towards your yellow ones isn't the best results.
If you rolled really big, is that any good?
Yeah. It's pretty good as long as you stay in the house somewhere. It still leaves 3 yellows pretty farly spread apart.
The importance of sticking your shooter, right? Unfortunately, was a little bit wide and took his own out along the way.
Yeah. The deuce still is in play with that corner guard there. 1 draw around that corner guard can easily set up a 2-point.
Did Nova Scotia elect to hit and stick this or hit and roll out? Did you see the call?
I think he said hit and stick, but...
Oh, might create a bit of a pocket back there though, right?
I think their idea behind that was to get the force.
Yes,
Having
that's true.
2 reds in the house kind of forces it a little bit harder.
This is curling. Are they going to get it by the red? Just clicked it.
It's probably the best result you could have gotten
never,
there.
never a doubt, hey? There's a lot of really good sweeping out there today, hey?
Yes, really good.
So do you want to maybe say some of the key things that you look for in a good sweeper when it comes to technique?
Yeah, so the biggest thing you're looking for is both speed and pressure on the broom head. So you want a player who can kind of find a happy medium between both of them and maximize both areas.
So PEI looks like they were attempting the hit and roll maybe over to the other one, and we're over curling. Are we going to grab it? Just missed. So that's an interesting thing too, Selena. Oftentimes in the first couple ends of a game, say the first and the second end, you see a lot of hits over curling near the center line especially. Do you have any idea why that is?
Yeah, so a lot of the time there's not a lot of traffic down the center line, so there's a little bit more frost built up there, and you see just a little bit more curl until those paths are worn down a little bit more. So I think they did elect to play in the house. They want this one top 8.
Yes.
What would be the tolerance of this shot, Karsten? Light or heavy?
I would definitely say you for sure want paint underneath this one. If you end up as a tight guard, that really just opens up a window of opportunity for your opposition. So obviously top half of the house is ideal. Even if you do happen to slip to the back half of the house, the likelihood of PEI being able to build a deuce out of that is quite unlikely.
Really nice shot here by Owen.
Owen's off to quite a good start, hey?
Yeah.
It's always tough when you have to play the reigning champion in your first game, hey?
Yeah.
So it looks like Mitchell is playing an in-turn hit once again, right down the middle. Is he looking for the roll or the double here? Did you see the call?
I think he's looking for the double, but I could be wrong. I think Nose should get the double.
He's
you
really
might even
close.
get the triple if you have enough weight.
He's really close. Ah, just missed it. He left it in an interesting spot though, right?
Yeah.
Owen has to be a little careful how he's hitting this.
A jam is definitely in play.
Goes back to that old saying, if your rocks are behind the tee line, they're your opposition's friends, hey?
Yeah.
And he successfully navigates it through the port. Really well executed. So now we see Mitchell attempting to draw for his one. Why would you draw for your one as opposed to maybe hit and roll or hit the back one?
Hitting and sticking that back one is really hard where Owen's top rock rolled to. You have a very little margin for error with the hit. You can easily give up a steal of 1 or steal of 2 that way. So you do have backing with the ice that he gave, I think. So all he really has to do is hit 8 foot, and he does have some backing as well there.
The sweepers are cleaning it, so it looks pretty close. That's always a reassuring sign, hey, when you throw a draw against a couple and your sweepers clean it out of your hand. And that was beautifully executed by Mitchell. They always say a skip better have draw weight early, and he sure did, hey?
Yeah, something to look for in a skip and to have confidence is to basically always have a shot to the forefoot and be able to make that.
And I think the other thing I'd like to point out is beautiful weight judgment by the sweepers on that too, hey?
Yeah, very well managed.
Oftentimes in situations like that, especially with this age group, you see the pressure get to them sometimes, right? Everybody's a little bit excited because you're playing not only in a national championship, but you're drawing against a couple. So that really shows a lot of maturity from those sweepers to view it objectively and make a really good weight call on that. So now Mackenzie has been asked to throw the center guard here. Is this one going to stop in time? Looks like it has slipped onto the rings. You often see that in maybe the second end and especially the third end. You tend to see a couple draws slide deep. Do you have any idea why, Selena?
Yeah, so as the game goes on, usually the first couple ends, the ice keens up a little bit more than from pre-game practice.
Tempted hit and roll to the side, just a little bit thin. Should open up the window for PEI to throw that center guard once again.
So this does look like it's hanging out pretty wide.
Yes.
Hasn't caught the curl yet.
Yes.
So they did elect to choose the outside sweeper, so the sweeper on the right-hand side of the screen to sweep closest to the rock. Why is that?
So that's to make it curl, I guess, would be the best explanation. So having that outside sweeper on the rock, the angle of his brushstroke will influence the pebble wear on the ice and hopefully finish it a little bit more. So a beautifully executed center guard and a really good team management shot on that one. It was a little wide early. They waited until it caught some curl, and then they finished it over. And Nova Scotia has elected to attempt to come around. It looks like they'll get a piece buried.
Yeah, that's still a pretty good shot.
Yes. So Mitchell has called the freeze here. The hit is available. Why would you maybe freeze this one instead of hitting it?
Yeah, it's considered what we call a setup shot. So you don't really want to move it yet. It's not a great danger to Team PEI. A good shot here can kind of put pressure on Nova Scotia, and you'll see a couple taps and potentially set up a steal.
Especially that red one, it's a little deep in the rings, hey? So if this freeze is successfully made, it should shut down the closing area, hey?
Yeah.
Looks like beautiful weight, but just under curled a touch. So once again, you often see that on arena ice, especially, Selena. So the broom positioning was in a very similar spot for those two draws, but the second one ran just a little bit straighter. Why is that?
Yeah, so as we said before, the second one down the path, you'll see that pass start to straighten up a little bit. There's a little bit less frost, a little bit keener, and that will just run a little bit straighter.
Looks like he's really close to the inside roll here. Beautifully executed. Liam Kelly has a really nice delivery, hey?
Yeah, he's fairly young as well.
He slides quite straight.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how strong technically a lot of these players are at such a young age. It just goes to show the great coaching we have in Canada here and development of young athletes.
Mm-hmm. So has just undercurled slightly on the hit and roll attempt. Now you see Nova Scotia attempting to hit and roll behind. Would you ever consider maybe hitting and rolling away in this situation, Selena?
Yeah, I think so. It kind of eliminates less rocks in the center, and you don't get that clutter near the center line that
And then it would
potentially
kind of
harm ya.
be decision time for PEI, right? Do they want to gamble against 2 rocks in the house and continue to throw that freeze or not? So like I said, decision time. What do you think? It looks like he has elected to call the freeze. So obviously if he makes it, it's great, but things could get a little dicey if he's a bit off, hey?
Yeah, you can definitely give up a big end if the shot is missed.
Given the scoreboard, I think it's probably the call though, hey?
Absolutely, yeah. You gotta make a couple points here.
Yeah.
A steal here would play really, really well.
This looks like it's hanging out wide. So it seems like PEI is unfortunately a little bit heavy and wide. And you see Nova Scotia calling once again to hit and roll to the corner and try to space their rocks out. McEachern has a really nice delivery too, hey?
Yeah, I was just about to say that actually. Still a pretty good result.
Mm-hmm. If you were going to roll that way, it was probably better to roll farther.
Too far, yeah.
Yes.
So PI has elected to call the freeze again. One good rock here can save the end.
So I just heard Johnston say this rock runs straight. What does he mean by that?
So sometimes in arena rocks, you will find one rock that curls a little bit more, a little bit less, or the speed-wise is a little bit off. So obviously they found either in pre-event practice or pre-game practice that this rock that Johnston's throwing does run a little bit straighter. So they will need less ice to make the shot.
That's pretty amazing to pick up subtle things like that at this age, hey?
Yeah. Things
I
like that
remember-
is definitely what kind of gives you a little bit more of an edge in curling, though, being able to pick up the small things.
When I was 16, I'm not sure if I had any clue the difference between a cutter or a straight one. So I'm quite impressed. So it looks like there's not much space by the guard here. It looks like he's trying to do a gentle weight curl by the guard and remove the yellow one. Would you ever consider maybe peeling in this situation, Selena?
You could, but I think with how much the ice curls, you can easily get to that rock.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case, you play a little bit tight. Clipping the top one's definitely your miss here.
That's very true. Looks like he has a beautiful shot here.
Yeah, it's really nice. PI is definitely in some trouble looking at 4 reds in the house now with no great way to freeze any rocks here.
That was just fabulous weight control, hey?
Yeah.
If he throws it down that same line, but with even 4 or 5 feet more, I'm not sure it comes up for him. So it seems like PEI is in a bit of a sticky situation here. What do you think the call is, Selena?
It's really up to the skip, whatever he's feeling. That double there is really hard, or maybe he's just playing a tap.
It doesn't look like you can save your shooter if you make the double.
No, you're still looking at giving up 3.
Would you ever elect to come around the works with the amount of curl in this ice?
Yeah, you definitely could. It would be very tight to get second shot, but
you'd have to be quite precise.
I think if anything, maybe the run double's even a little bit easier than that.
Yes. He's close. Very close. They're sweeping to make it curl. And he almost made the double across the face.
He does open up his options now. At least now he has the rocks kind of grouped together and might be able to get a double.
So here's an interesting call. They've elected to peel the center guard instead of come around. Do you have any explanation for why that might be?
Yeah, I guess their thought process behind it is if you peel it out, Owen's going to have an open shot on his last to basically score one or score a couple here. So
if you ever slip deep on the come around, he'd probably be able to freeze you out, hey?
Yeah. Minimize any opportunity that PEI has here and just peel it out. I think if it was later on in the week and they had a good handle of the ice, you might see a different call, but...
Definitely playing the scoreboard too, right?
Yeah.
So Mitchell's first call was for the freeze. He's also looking at the double. I believe he has settled on the double. Get rid of two of them and take your chances at him hitting at the back of the house against three.
Yeah. This is a fairly flat double.
I guess it's also respect for your opponent too, right? Owen just showed that he can throw it quite hard, quite accurately, right? So for Mitchell to glue one on there with a freeze would be pretty tough. And it's running down the ice. He looks close. They have the inside sweeper on it. Called off. He's close. Really close. Beautiful shot. Beautiful, beautiful shot. So now Owen with the nose hit for three and to take control of this game. There's a lot of Tuckers out there on the ice, hey?
Yeah.
You don't see that too often from the Atlantic provinces.
Nope.
If it works though. He slides very straight too.
Sweepers are working on this one.
And beautifully executed.
That's another three on the board for Nova Scotia.
I'm not sure Owen's missed a shot yet.
I don't think he has.
That's got to be quite a confidence booster, hey? Here, Skip's tossing 100. First game of the event.
Yeah. In this replay here, you can see that it was in the back half of the house, so sometimes sticking those rocks aren't the easiest. You don't really have much room to roll.
So the situation is looking a bit less than ideal for PEI, but there's lots of game left, hey? I wouldn't count them out.
Yeah, especially with the 5-rock rule now in effect. It's definitely a lot easier to score twos.
So Nova Scotia has elected to draw into the top half of the house and maybe keep things a bit more open this end. It seems like the ice is starting to straighten up a bit, hey?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because they were taking a very similar broom position for their draw to the pin, and they had to wait for that to curl most of the way.
So a fun fact about Scott Weagle, his older brother Graham was kind of his inspiration to curling.
That's cool. Almost the same way, except my younger sister is my inspiration to curling, hey?
Graham Weagle has made it out of Nova Scotia quite a few times, hey, to junior nationals.
I believe so.
Yeah.
The name sounds familiar. Did he play with Matthew Manuel?
I think so.
Yeah. I would have played him once or twice then.
Or 3 times.
Yeah. And a beautifully executed corner guard from PEI.
Yeah.
A good depth for it, too. Nova Scotia has elected to put another one in, it looks like.
Yeah, so Scott is planning to attend St. Mary's University for a business degree after he graduates grade 12 here. It's amazing that curling is one of the few sports that can allow that balance between school and curling. Not very easily, but it definitely is there.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a balancing act, that's for sure. So we see PEI has elected to throw the second corner guard. Do you have any idea why they chose to draw it on the same side as opposed to maybe the more traditional 2 corner guards on either side, Selena?
Yeah, I think that kind of closes it off a little bit, especially with where Nova Scotia's second rock just landed up. You can almost use Nova Scotia's second rock out front as a guard.
And oftentimes you see 2 corner guards thrown, but you never use one of them, hey?
Yeah, play gets too clogged up in the middle. And here, Colin McKenzie is looking to study criminology and forensic sciences at St. Mary University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, after he graduates grade 12 this year as well.
That corner guard unfortunately slipped a little bit deep.
Yep.
But they can't peel yet.
So that's interesting. Colin McKenzie is looking to come and move to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and that plays back that you never really know who your next teammate's going to be, hey?
Exactly.
You might see him joining up forces with a Nova Scotia team.
Always good to make friends at these things, hey?
Yeah.
So I think this is the biggest difference, or one of the biggest differences you see with the 5-ruck rule, Selena. Nova Scotia is up 5 at this point, and they've elected to throw a center guard, right?
Yeah.
Just not having that peel option available to you, it's really best defense is a strong offense. Unfortunately, they did over-curl, so the window of opportunity has opened up a bit for PEI here. They almost have 4 corner guards out there, hey?
Yeah.
Why would you play the come around here as opposed to maybe the hit and roll?
I think it gives you a little bit more opportunity. It's still early in the end, and you can still create a little bit of movement on those rocks. The red one also is wide open, so a good rock here puts Nova Scotia chasing a little bit.
And it goes back to the old saying, if you really need a rock somewhere, more often than not, the easiest way to get it there is by drawing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So Liam Kelly is really young. He's only 15, but has been curling for 10 years. Quite impressive. Really good player.
How old were you when you started curling, Selena?
Oh, a long time ago.
40 days and 40 nights ago or longer than that?
Oh, I don't know.
So Nova Scotia can now peel, and they've elected to throw the intern at the crotch of this one. I anticipate a couple rocks are going to move here. And a beautifully executed double peel.
Fun little fact, Liam Kelly's favorite curler is Heather Nedowin. She actually is the organizer of this event.
I wonder if we have any Dave Nedowin fans out there on the ice. Probably 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's amazing what Heather has done and created such a world-class event here.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of work and effort has definitely gone into this event.
The opening ceremonies yesterday, unfortunately, we weren't able to attend, but I heard nothing but good things about them, hey?
Yeah. So PEI did elect to play the freeze here.
Looks like they have a really nice shot coming down.
It's a really nice shot.
Beautiful.
Liam Kelly definitely has a lot of years ahead of him. He already has a lot of curling highlights. He was obviously at the 2019 Canada Winter Games, like we said, 2018 and 29 U-18 Nationals, 2018, 2016, and 2017 U-16 provincial champ. He's definitely a very accomplished curler at a very young age.
So Nova Scotia has elected to play the guard here. Do you maybe want to explain why, Selena?
There is quite a lot of guards up front, and right now PEI doesn't really have a great draw path for one. They're going to have to go out really wide to come around that yellow one. So sometimes plugging up the middle is the easiest way to create some defense.
And it's late into the end now, right? We're on to third rock, so less opportunity for PEI to set a potential multiple score up.
You have to make sure this rock is high enough, though, not to make the run back easy, just because those rocks in the house are grouped so close together that as long as you make contact, your yellow one's staying in the house.
Really well executed guard. So this is one of the biggest differences I see, especially when you're playing in an arena environment compared to a club environment. Shots like this are so much easier, right? You have a rock that's just a foot, maybe 2 feet off the rings, and the come around on this is a lot easier than it tends to be on club ice, hey?
Yeah, you can definitely even over curl the guard and get into a good piece of the forefoot, into a good piece of the forefoot, if not even the button here. So definitely can open up some scoring here.
And I suppose that's a testament to all the great work that the ice crew does. I believe John Wall is the head ice maker, and he's created some fantastic conditions for these young athletes.
Yeah. I think part of it, too, is the curling rocks. Can you maybe explain the difference between these rocks and rocks that you would see at a curling club?
Yeah, so these are arena rocks. They tend to be, generally a little bit heavier, so they will glide a touch farther. And then the bottom running surface of them tends to be a little bit sharper, so you see more of an arena curl shape. And what I mean by that is you see more of a J-style curve to the curvature of the rock when it's curling. So you'll see it run straight, run straight, run straight, and then at the end it'll finish really hard, whereas with a club rock, you see more of a gradual general curl. Look at that. There's maybe all of 3 feet of separation between those rocks, and they got it dead buried. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah. So Adam McEachran is only 17, so he still has potentially one more year of eligibility here at this competition.
So the PEI third has been asked to play the run back on this shot.
Yeah.
That's not a call you want to hear out of your skip when you let go, hey?
Even if he is wide, though, and makes contact with the yellow, it's still not a bad shot.
Has a good chance to come up for him.
Just like that. Just needed to throw it a little bit harder.
But he even stuck the shooter, and all of a sudden there's 3 yellows in the house,
There's a lot of yellows in play, yep.
How open is that yellow one on the side there?
You could probably see about half, just over half from the half.
So Owen has decided to play the come around here. Why would you maybe come around instead of throwing up a guard in this situation, Selena?
Right now you do have quite a lot of room to get a good rock in there. There is 3 yellows, so sometimes getting in one more red in there makes you feel a little bit safer, makes it a little bit harder for PEI to move those rocks around.
Kind of like the best guard is often second or third shot, hey?
Yeah, especially when you're up on the scoreboard.
Yes. This one looks like it's running a bit. And it looks like Owen is going to stop for third shot. in a pretty great position, too.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for PEI to score now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to see two really nice shots from PEI here. So a replay here, just really great manage from the brushers as well.
It kind of goes to show that being a good sweeper isn't always about sweeping hard, right?
Yeah.
Like just that weight judgment aspect of the shot, knowing when it's heavy, knowing when to stay right off. Just some really mature shot management from these teams out here.
So I wonder what kind of weight he's playing at this. This doesn't look like a lot of ice.
Yeah, to me this shot definitely screams for less weight, especially when you consider how lively these rocks are, right? In order to not only curl enough to get to the face of that, but to move the red, you really only need back line just through kind of weight. The sweepers are working it. It looks like he's going to be tight to the guard. And he just clips it.
Something you might see also, because he does have a tuck delivery, his outturn might run a smidge straighter than all of the rest of his players, so that also might be a contributing factor.
So what do you mean when you say tuck delivery, Selena?
So a tuck delivery, generally a lot of us curlers know the tuck to be a signature of Manitoba curlers, but it's kind of where you're really low down and up on your toe, and just the product of your arm angle and how you release that rock usually creates a little bit straighter of a release.
So would you call Owen a tucker as well?
Yeah.
I think my knee would explode if I got into that position.
Yeah, these kids are still young. They still have good knees.
Yeah. Owen should be really close on this, considering that he just threw down that path.
It looks a little bit heavy to me.
That's still not a bad result, though, hey?
I don't know how you score.
Ugh. I'm not even sure how you give up just a one steal.
Yeah.
PEI is unfortunately in a pile of trouble here.
If you hit as much as you can see with a lot of weight, you might get two moving, but...
That's actually a smart call. So if you run the red into the yellow at the top of the house, right?
Yeah.
And you stuff the yellow right into that red that is on the top of the pin, you for sure get the back two. And with the amount of action on these rocks, I think that middle one might actually start spinning if you can throw it hard enough. Especially because you're coming at it from an angle like that, right? We'll see what Laurie Robinson has to say. I definitely think that's the shot, though, right onto yellow into the pocket.
Little fun fact about Laurie, her first exposure to national curling was watching her mom play at the 1979 Canadian Women's Championships in Montreal, Canada. She also went on to play at 2 Junior Canadian Championships, 1 Canada Games, 2 Scotties, and 1 Canadian Mixed.
So Laurie's a pretty good curler in her own right, hey?
Yeah, definitely a lot of knowledge.
So it seems like they're discussing options. Even from the in-front angle, I still like that red onto yellow into the middle.
So here you will see a replay of Owen's last rock here. Great manage. Puts it into a perfect position where it's really hard to score and really hard to even just give up a steal of 1.
And the communication piece on that, because that wasn't the call. They were calling to be a little bit higher and frozen onto the other one, but just really good communication from the team as a whole. They made the audible that it was a little bit heavy, so instead of chunking that thing thick and leaving maybe a pocket for Mitchell to come off of, they managed to take it just deep enough.
Yeah, definitely shows good team communication there, and ability to make the best out of every shot.
This is really thin, hey?
Yeah. Probably close to 1/6 of the rock here. Almost have to play it to miss it.
Does he have it?
No,
Ah,
just
just
by.
missed it.
So we are going into the 4th end break. We will be back with more coverage.
Alrighty, it looks like we are just about ready to get things started here once again after the fourth end break. So a quick update for everybody who has been just tuning in. Nova Scotia started off the game with hammer, managed to score 3. They were successful in the second end and forcing PEI to 1. They came right back with another 3 in the third end, and after a lot of really good draws, they managed to put a lot of pressure on PEI and steal 4 in the last end. So as we move into the fifth end, Nova Scotia is 9 up.
And just quickly wanted to say a very big thank you to our silver sponsors, CFCW, Derek Fika from Dental Center, Frontier Value International, and then our bronze sponsors are Boston Pizza, Sobeys, Jugo Juice, Asham Dynasty, and Driving Force.
It's really awesome to have so much support for events like this, right?
Yeah, it's amazing that the community is able to help out and put on great events like this. Definitely could not do it without the sponsors.
So do you maybe have some score updates for us, Selena, from the other sheets?
I sure do. So we're going to start off first with the girls' side. So New Brunswick versus Northwest Territories. It is currently 3-1 for Northwest Territories playing the fifth end. Ontario versus Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is leading 5-2 after the fifth end, or after the fourth end. Newfoundland is up 4-2 against Alberta. And Saskatchewan and PEI are tied at 2-all. And lastly, Manitoba and BC are also tied at 2-all. All of these scores are after the fourth end, so going into the fifth end here. For boys, we have Northern Ontario leading Northwest Territories 6-4. Nova Scotia is leading PEI 10-1, which is our feature game here. BC is leading Ontario 2-1. And Alberta boys are leading against Newfoundland and Labrador 6-2.
Getting back onto action on our sheet, we saw this end start off with a couple draws slipping deep after the fourth end break. Do you have any ideas on why that might be, Selena?
Yeah, so what happens at fourth end break is you'll see the ice tech and the ice crew come out and sweep the ice. So it's a big mop that runs about half the width of the sheet, and they run it up and down, which often keens up the speed of the ice about 2 to 3 feet.
So that's one of those things that you don't really know unless you play in an arena environment, hey? The effect of the mop keening it up after the break.
Yeah, it definitely makes leads' lives a lot harder. The fifth or fourth end sweep will definitely tend to cause your rocks slipping deep in that fifth end or sixth end.
But it goes back to just that idea of having these athletes out here in an arena environment and getting to experience stuff like that just makes their game so much more well-rounded and knowledgeable, right?
Yeah, it definitely builds curling in Canada leading up as they grow older.
So McDonough has been asked to play a finesse weight hit around this corner guard. These are a little more scary under the 5-ruck rule now, hey?
Yeah, you can't really afford it to be wide and you can't afford it to be tight. You need to be pretty accurate with these.
Because if you were to rack, that corner guard goes right back, right?
Yeah. Looks like he has a really nice shot here, getting almost right to the nose. That almost chokes the corner guard off too as well. It's kind of...
Just beautiful weight control once again. Oftentimes I feel like in our sport we get a kind of enamored with the ability to throw it hard and to throw it with lots of speed and make a lot of rocks move. But the finesse in shots like that are really what make great teams great, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
So PEI has elected to throw a guard on the other side. Would you maybe have ever considered something a little different, Selena?
The other option would be you can probably still come around both of those corners, the yellow one and the top red one in the house, or you could freeze the back, but it's still early in the end that you know Nova Scotia is going to make this peel here, so having that corner guard, that second corner guard always helps.
My thought was considering that red rock in the top 12 is only in the top 12. It's almost as if you have a staggered corner over there to come around.
Yeah, you can definitely come around everything. I think it's just early in the end. He still
that's
wants
true.
to...
beautiful double
shot.
peel. That's the risk though, right?
Yeah.
So at what point do you stop throwing the corner guard and start establishing angles in the house and maybe tapping things back, throwing freezes?
Yeah, I think that's really up to the team itself and when they have decided, but usually you see that around thirds rocks.
And is that just to give your opposition less chances to blow the house up, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, it's just staging shots, so wasting a couple of rocks and then
So you're basically placing your bets. Given the scoreboard, you know that Nova Scotia is probably going to walk up there, peel the corner right, and then you maybe make it into a 3-on-2 situation or a 4-on-3 situation by electing to do it later, right?
yeah.
So it looks like Nova Scotia has elected to play the hit and roll into the house. Do you like that as compared to maybe just the straight peel?
If you can make it good, it's good. But sometimes complicating things a little bit less is better.
Especially given the scoreboard, like, say if he did successfully hit and roll, he's probably only rolling to the top 12, and then that's almost a guard for your opposition, right?
Yeah.
So PEI has decided to change the direction of where they're throwing the corner guard. Instead of throwing it onto the right side from the thrower's view, they've elected to throw it onto the left side. Why might that be, Selena?
Basically so that Nova Scotia doesn't have the same shot multiple times in a row, and by throwing it to the side, you also might get a little bit of a stagger with that rock top 12 of PEI, or Nova Scotia's rock top 12. So it also changes up the spot in the ice, and Nova Scotia's forced to throw different spots in the ice.
If you get a bit of a miss, is the jam in play maybe?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's actually beautiful guard positioning from that. Now, the peel, while it is still very makeable, obviously, you have to be a little bit more conscious of navigating past the red ones. And they successfully peeled. Maybe a touch thick, may have left a corner. So why would you elect to come around the red in the top 12 here, Celine, instead of maybe around the corner guard?
I think it just creates a little bit more score potential, I guess. A good shot here is kind of going to force a run back, and if it is missed, it eliminates one of Nova Scotia's rocks.
And I think even if you look at the sequencing of it, right? So say they're successful in making this come around, and even if Nova Scotia is successful in making the run back, all of a sudden that rock is one rock higher in the house, right?
Yeah.
And closer to a guard.
So the sweepers are working on this one quite a bit.
Once again, they have switched to have Kelly on the inside to make it curl for that extra finish. Beautiful line, just a touch light it looks like. So Owen has elected to play the hit and stick instead of the peel. And I think that's actually a really smart call. By hitting and sticking somewhere in the forefoot, you kind of force PEI to not have a free crack at that come around again. Oh, that was tight. A little close for comfort. So sometimes you see that, Selena. Sometimes you see it looks like the rock is on those hits, riding on the center line, and then once it makes its move off the center line, it curls a lot. Do you have any insight into why that might be?
Yeah, so naturally the way ice is created and ice basically forms from water, a lot of the times you do see a little bit of a peak on that center line, just the way that the water freezes. So basically it's climbing the hill, and then once it reaches the top of the hill, it curls a lot more because gravity is naturally helping it.
So Mitchell has elected to play the freeze on the back one. It looks like he's a little bit heavy and a little tight. That's not a bad result, though, hey?
Yeah, it moves rocks to the behind the tee line, which is really, really good considering that one's even the Nova Scotia top ones, top 12. So it creates jam opportunities and also freeze opportunities for PEI.
And Owen is trying to navigate through the hole here.
Even if he does happen to clip one of the ones on the in the back of the house along the way, as long as he doesn't dead stuff it, it's a really good result.
Considering that, would you maybe tighten up the ice and throw more weight?
Personally, I would, yeah. If I can, getting it through the hole is great, but clipping one of the back ones on the way is actually a bonus.
Like maybe not peel, but maybe something like firm weight or controlled peel, right? Just in case you do clip one of those back ones to make sure that that yellow leaves town.
I guess maybe his thought process is sticking it on the nose is pretty good as well. It kind of takes away that freeze option in
That's
that
true.
corner.
The other thing to consider is he did just play this path right, so he should have a very good idea of the shape of the curl.
Oh,
Ugh.
that's not what he was
We
looking
jinxed
for.
him.
Yeah.
We jinxed him. But that's the interesting thing. So say if he had elected to throw a little more weight at that, right?
Yeah.
You can audible to sweep and hit half that rock and it leaves town.
Yeah. Yeah, so the replay here, you do see it was less weight and just a little bit wide. Kind of goes back to the center line that we were talking about. His broom was right on the center line as well, so it's fighting that hill for half the way, and then once it gets there, it'll finally curl, but
And
it's
it's just
definitely
kind
a fine
of
line.
kind of an educated guess as to when it's going to come off the hill, hey?
Yeah.
And here we see Mitchell make no mistake and grab his first deuce of the game. Just goes to show you how one small mistake late in the end can open up a window of opportunity for a skip's deuce.
Absolutely.
Very good taking opportunity for Mitchell. Those are the shots that make or break games, hey?
Yeah.
The ones where you do get a miss from the opposition and you always want to follow that up with a really good shot yourself.
Yeah, a lot of the time in curling, you'll hear that as capitalization. So being able to come back with a really good shot after your opponent has missed a shot or gotten a half shot.
I remember one coach told me once it's almost like if you're somebody who follows stats, it's almost like those should be worth double the points, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely the important shots in curling that make the difference. So here you should see PEI throwing up a guard. They want to create some offense here, try and steal a couple points.
How many guards would you throw here, Selena?
You're definitely in a must-steal situation, so you need definitely at least 2 center guards.
So now there's a couple different philosophies to this one. If you're throwing 2 center guards, you obviously want separation between the two is the key one. So at the end of the day, you need one high one and one tight one. Do you have any preference as to which one you would rather throw first, the high one or the tight one, Selena?
I think it's really up to the team, again, of what they're most comfortable with. Personally, I think throwing the high one leaves a little bit more room for error just from a lead playing wise. If you make your high one good, you can afford to be just like a little bit more heavy with your second rock, and if it does slip in top 12, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I myself throw the high one first. And I think even though Nova Scotia did not elect to do this, you see a lot of teams tick in a situation like that. And I think the tick on the high guard is a lot more difficult than the tick on the tight guard because, say, if they had elected to play the tick on that tight guard, they only need to move it 4 feet until it's into the rings, right?
Yeah.
Just makes the tick harder.
Yeah. You can often throw more weight at the ones near the house as well.
Yeah. I think the best tick I ever saw, so it was actually an opposition rocks, really similar to that, and my lead ticked it and put it right into the triangle of death at the back, like no man's land. I have a coach who used to call that coffin corner back there.
So pretty good pair by a PEI lead here. Really no stagger and no double peel, so
So we see Nova Scotia electing to come around once again, that double center. What do you think is the ideal depth for this, Selena?
I think even with your one, top 8 is most ideal. I wouldn't go any deeper than top 4 just because it does set up an easy double, or the deeper you are, it's kind of easy to freeze it or top it and
if
get
you were
things
to
clogged up there.
ever slip right behind the tee, the worst time to go back button is behind a double center, hey?
Yeah. Those rocks always seem to get you in trouble.
Yep.
Missed shot like this light, though, doesn't do any good either. It's just another
No.
guard for PEI. That was actually a really hard shot.
You just don't have a lot of margin for error on it, I guess.
No.
So would you maybe have considered the tick or throwing one to the wing in a situation like that?
Yeah, I think the tick would have played really well. Even being up 10-3, throwing it your second one through is not
right.
always a bad decision.
You don't really need
I bet
points.
you they're wishing they would rather have that rock through now than in the free guard zone.
Yeah, you don't really need points at this point. You just kind of need to run it out till the end of the game.
Yeah.
And we see PEI make absolutely no mistake. Once again, capitalization, right?
Yeah, that was a really nice shot. So now Nova Scotia's chasing a little bit. They're looking for a double peel, yellow on to red here.
If he is successful in this double peel, that second red is pretty close to coming back into the house, hey?
Yeah, very close.
Shade thin.
Just a little wide, yeah. So you will see PEI put this guard back up.
So obviously, if you're PEI right now, Selena, you need to steal. That much is obvious. And then it looks like it's a bit of a cat and mouse game. They're throwing the guard, they're throwing the guard. At some point, they're going to come into the house because a steal of a multiple here is obviously better than a steal of one. What do you think is the point in the end where you would consider coming into the house instead of throwing that guard?
I think on thirds last or skips first is an ideal time. It doesn't give Nova Scotia much time to provide much defense. So Nova Scotia is going to have to decide whether they peel or try and draw themselves at that point.
Once again, less opportunities for your opposition to blow things up. The PEI boys have put together a spotless end so far, hey?
Yeah, really good.
Those are tricky ones, throwing the high guard, hey?
Yeah.
Because
especially on arena ice, it's
yes.
really hard to throw a high guard and not have it over curl or under curl.
Obviously, if you slip deep, you're going to leave an easy double peel, but if you're 3 feet shorter than that, then
not good.
It gets kicked back to the rock back.
So both teams have a lot of thinking time. So you're given 30 minutes at the start of each game, and PEI has about 13 minutes on the clock, so more than enough time to finish the end and this game. And Nova Scotia has about just shy of 15 minutes. So both teams are really good on time for this game.
What I'm impressed by is looking not only at this sheet, but actually at all the sheets. I think there's only one team out of the 10 teams on this arena that is under 12 minutes of thinking time with 3 ends left to play. And they're at 11:57, so they're at basically 12 ends. And I think that just goes to show the quality of coaching that these teams are receiving. So for many of them, this is their first time on arena ice. This is their first time on the time clock. So that can definitely be an added pressure, but it doesn't seem like anybody out here is having any difficulty at all with being on the clocks.
So there is a double peel option available here. Playing it this way, there is opportunity for a jam in the house, though.
He threw that really hard. Oh, those rocks flew. It's crazy how one shot like that can change the complexion of an end when a guard slips a little bit deep, hey?
Yeah. I'd almost be tempted to throw one more guard here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, Selena. Obviously, you might consider something a little different later in the end, but right now, that's a pretty good steal point, hey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's just another to continue the cat and mouse game, right?
Yeah.
Like if you walk up there and throw
Delay.
the
Delay their
yeah, if you walk
fail
up there and throw
points.
the center guard, like you know Owen's gonna peel it off.
Yeah.
So given the fact that we're on arena ice, Selena, and that the rocks are curling not much more, does that change at all how you throw it?
I think on this ice, you can afford to be a little bit more positive, as people say. So that means putting a little bit more rotation on the handle and just making sure, if anything, you're a little bit outside of the broom rather than inside.
Just because you can always finish it at the end, right?
Yeah.
Like even throughout the course of this game, we've seen that the overcurl is more prevalent than the undercurl at this stage of the event.
Yeah, definitely.
So here you see a finesse weight hit attempt around that guard, given the depth of it. So I guess that just goes to show the importance of when the ice is curling this much, you really want those guards tight, hey?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced that even if you make it, it's not really a great shot because you leave a rock clustered kind of on
That's
the
true,
T-line.
hey?
You freeze it or you tap it a little bit. Nova Scotia's still chasing.
Well, if Mitchell makes a great shot here, say he comes to the face of it and just moves it a foot, then all of a sudden he's buried one behind the center guard with something to jam on at the back, right?
Yeah.
So I'd almost be tempted to move it, right? Especially considering that you pretty much do have to steal at this point.
I think playing the scoreboard, the peel wouldn't have been a bad option there either. You're limiting the damage. It's wide open.
I'd have to agree with that. If you're Nova Scotia and you just walk up there and peel the guard, there's nothing more than maybe a one steal at worst that enters the equation, hey?
So a lot of the times we say playing the scoreboard. What does that mean?
Obviously your tactics are going to be dictated by not only the stage of the game you're in, but obviously what the scoreboard situation is. So you generally see when teams are up a couple points, they want to be a little bit more defensive. They want to eliminate opponents' rocks. So just always making sure that your shot strategy and your shot selection matches what the scoreboard says behind you, I guess.
Yeah. So Owen has elected to come in and sit on right on top of it. This still is a very fairly aggressive call, considering they're up 10-3.
But the other thing to consider, though, and this is actually a phrase a coach of mine used to say, he used to say that even if you're in a really defensive situation, there's an attack point at an end. So what I mean by attack point is oftentimes it comes on a skip's rock, like a skip's first rock or a third's last rock. It's a point where if you do have a makeable shot available to you that is a little bit aggressive in nature, but if you make it in a fairly low-risk, makeable situation, you really put the gears to the other team. So I think that's what Owen is thinking here. But if you're going to switch gears and utilize that attack point, then I suppose you better make it, hey?
Yeah. A simple peel here wouldn't play bad either.
Yes.
Considering you still are shot stone. Coming up late here is not good.
Not ideal.
Opens up the window for PEI, definitely.
I think it still curls enough on that in-turn that he can play to move it, hey?
You can easily play back 4, back 8 out of your hand and make the sweepers make up the difference to move that rock far enough.
Did he call for the freeze or did he call to move it?
I think he called for the straight freeze, but I don't really know what that helps you considering you're already sitting
I'd have to
second
agree.
shot. If you weren't sitting second shot, yeah, but
like obviously it's not an easy shot, but at this stage in the game, you kind of gotta put your cards on the table, hey? So Mitchell with a big last shot. He's had a lot of big last rocks here this game. Hasn't had too many easy ones. Well, it looks like he threw weight to tap it.
Yeah.
By design or otherwise.
It's kind of the joys of being Skip and not all at the same time.
It looks like he's gonna have a just a titch wide. Is he trying to draw through the port?
I think so, yeah. You could also play a tap on those two reds.
Yeah, I think the tap's almost
Can't
easier,
really
hey?
hurt yourself.
Even if you were heavy, just the angle with those rocks, you're always for sure getting one.
Yeah. Either way, this is a very similar path to what he just threw.
That's very true. And it's not like, even though that port may look small, it's not like there's any lack of curl in that spot.
You can even afford to be a smidge heavy and clip off one of your wide ones.
That's very true. Looks like he has great line. If anything, as you touch tight. Owen has a really nice looking shot here.
It's amazing how many families and parents and brothers and sisters were able to come out and watch this event. The stands are pretty full of each province's family.
And Owen finishes off the game with a beautiful draw to the pin, and we have gloves coming off and handshakes. So that was a pretty great performance put forward by Nova Scotia, our defending champions in the opening game. And not to be underlooked is actually a pretty good game put forward by PEI2. They did manage to string shots together a number of times and had a couple good looks at multiple. So I expect both of these teams to have quite a good week. Final score, 10-3. Do you maybe want to update our viewers on what's happening on other sheets, Selena?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the boys' side of the draws, we have Northern Ontario leaving Northwest Territories 8-5. Nova Scotia won over PEI, which was our feature game. Ontario and BC are still tied at 2-2, and Alberta is leading Newfoundland and Labrador 7-2. On the girls' side, Northwest Territories has been leading New Brunswick 4-2 still. Ontario is leading, or actually Nova Scotia is leading Ontario 5-4. Newfoundland and Labrador is up 4-3 with Hammer playing 6. And Saskatchewan is leading PEI 3-2. And BC Manitoba is having a very tight game, 3-2 playing 6.
Lots of close ones out there, hey?
Yeah, that is the end of coverage for this game. There is another draw happening at 6 p.m. I think tonight.
Yes, 6 p.m. tonight.
So definitely tune in to watch that. I believe the feature game is British Columbia and Nova Scotia.
So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will continue coverage throughout the week of the U-18 National Championships. This is Karsten Sturmey signing off.